Why did Cristiano Ronaldo not play? Why did Paul Pogba not play? Why did he rotate the squad so much? These are questions people have. Manchester United won, Everton won, and it's your match review. We started the game off so well. I think this was the best start we had to a game this season. I don't like to use the Leeds game as a reference because that's a once-off game and no other team plays the way Leeds play in Europe. If you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe to the channel right now so you can see more content of this quality. I think Leeds, their style of play is too good for the quality of play that they have. The style of play is greater than the quality of play. I don't know if you get where I'm going, but Leeds style of play can work against the smaller teams, but you cannot come with that style of play to big teams like Liverpool and Manchester United. We will dismantle you, because in order to have that style of play, you have to have players that can at least match the opponent's players. If not better, at least they need to match. Leeds players can't match our players, so we will always turn them over. They play 1v1 across the whole park, and when you play in 1v1 against the likes of Paul Pogba, against the likes of Mason Greenwood, we are going to kill you. Because those players beat players for fun, especially Paul Pogba. He can beat you for fun. So the minute you beat one of Leeds' players that's on you, there's an enormous amount of space on the field. And so it's really suicide to play 1v1 against Manchester United, especially a team that thrives in space. We don't want the ball, we want space. Just like Jose Mourinho said when he was at Tottenham, he said, I gave something to Manchester United that they did not want. What is that? The ball. We don't want the ball, we want space. Leeds give us space. And so I don't like to use that game as a reference because it really gives us no insight into what Manchester United have improved. It just tells you what we're good at. We're good at counter-attacking, and we always know that, but it does not give you an indication of have we improved or not. And we saw it. We went and beat Leeds, and a couple of weeks later we drew to Southampton. We ended up losing to Young Boys. We lost to West Ham. We lost to West Ham. We lost to Aston Villa. We ended up drawing now against Everton. We had a good start to the game, as I said. A brilliant start, the best start that I've seen this season, Manchester United having. We were moving the ball well. I thought the off-ball movement as well, the players moving off the ball was good as well. And we really looked sharp. We then scored the goal through Anthony Martial, which is a brilliant goal, and he needed that goal. He's a player that has been low on confidence. He hasn't been getting much minutes from the manager, so he needed that goal. And for me, before that, he had probably a subdued performance. I would say he was having an average game before that goal. We got the goal, and then all of a sudden our head started dropping, and we took the foot off the pedal. Instead of going for the second goal and killing the game off, we let Everton back into the game. And to be honest, Everton were always in the game. You also saw when Everton were in possession, they were very good in possession. They were moving the ball across the deck, and that's wonderful, and I love to see that. You know, we're playing football, we're not playing basketball. I don't want always you hoofing the ball up to the top and you're switching the ball in the air. I want to see you move the ball across the deck. And one of the teams that done that perfectly was Zinedine Zidane's teams. Awesome the way they were moving the ball on the deck, and Everton were doing that. But Manchester United don't know how to kill a game, but more importantly, we don't know how to control a game. And that's worrying for me, because as a big team, you have to be able to control a game. You have to control the game from minute 1 to minute 90. You need to dominate that game. All the big teams in Europe dominate games. Manchester City, Liverpool, they dominate the game. They tell the opposition what we want you to do and what we want you not to do. They limit the opposition to what they want the opposition to do. They dictate that whole game. They move the opposition where they want the opposition to do. They make uncomfortable moments for the opposition, and that's what big teams do. They dominate games. At Manchester United, we haven't dominated a game for the last few years under this manager. We play on the counter-attack, and apart from the counter-attack, when you give us the ball, we have no idea what to do. So we don't know how to dominate a game, because dominating a game comes from having a system, and thereafter comes from having a style of play. The foundation of a team is a style of play. How do you want to play? How do you want to play? in possession, how do you want to play out of possession? And Manchester United don't have a clue because the manager's been here now 3 years. It's going to be 3.5 years at the end of the season, and we still don't know how we want to play. Haven't dominated the game, as I said, and this was one of the games as well. Everton were there for the taking. Everton were there for the taking. They had 2 of their forwards out. Richarlison and Dominic Calvert-Lewin were out. 2 of their forwards. That is equivalent to us having Edinson Cavani and Cristiano Ronaldo out. We faced a weakened Everton team and we still could not get the job done. We could not kill the game. We could not dominate the game. We had the ball, but we did not dominate the game. And so some people will say, you know what, the manager, his rotations, he rotated way too much. But let me read you some of the quotes that I made. First of all, I want to read you the quote that I made when we versed Villarreal in the week. And might I also tell you, and you will know yourself as well if you are an honest Manchester United fan, Villarreal deserved to win that game. Let alone draw. They didn't even draw. They lost, but they deserved to win that game. They had the better chances and they controlled us. They controlled us and they had the better chances and they were the better team on the night. They deserved to win that game. The reason why we won it at the end is because of clutch moments, because of individual brilliance, because we've got those players that can just step up in a clutch moment and win the game for you. Cristiano Ronaldo. Villarreal don't have that. They had the better chances on the night, and if they had a better quality player, they could have slotted those chances away. But because they don't have the quality of players to take just one chance, one goal players, those are the results. That is what happens. So Villarreal, for me, play better than us and deserve to win that game. But let me read you the tweets, some of the tweets that I made on the night when we beat Villarreal in that 95th minute where Cristiano Ronaldo scored that goal. This is what I tweeted. Call me a fake fan, I don't care. I will never be happy with the performance we put out last night, irrespective of the result. It's only a matter of time till we go on another slump, as performances indicate that. That's what I said after the Villarreal game. Before we played Everton, days before we played Everton, that's what I said. Directly after the game, I said that the next day. I said that it's only a matter of time till we go on another slump, as performances indicate that. And my words came to fruition. My words came to pass. We went on a slump now against Everton. We drew when we were supposed to win. Why? Performances indicated that. I could not get happy with the Villarreal results. We did not deserve that. We did not deserve to beat them. We beat them because we had better players. We had better players than them, so that's why we beat them. We had Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest of all times. So that's why we beat them. But on the balance of play, which team deserved the victory or which team even deserved the draw? Villarreal. Villarreal deserved that. They played better than us on our home grounds. So that's what I said, guys. And it came to pass against Everton because the performances are not good. You cannot run away from performances. Performances are the bread and butter of football. That's the foundation of football. That's why you see Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola, their teams can be winning 3-0. You'll still see them on the touchline shouting at their players. Shouting at their players because their players need to still maintain the performance. At the end of the game, their team can win 3-0. And you'll see Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp, their face will be pulled and they will be angry and upset, and the pundits will wonder why, and the pundits ask them why, and the reporters ask them why aren't you happy your team just won. They will tell you the performance wasn't good. The performance is everything in football at the beginning stage. At the tail end of a season, it's about grinding out results. It's about getting the necessary results to reach your objectives. 100%. We are at the beginning of the season. Performances are everything. So you saw us now. We drew against Everton. That's because our performances on the day and before that suggested that we are going to draw against Everton. Suggested that we are not going to pick up maximum points from games coming up because the performances weren't good. And you can't run away from performance, guys. You can't run away from performance. On the other hand, you see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer does not care about performances. He only cares about results. He only cares about results. That you even saw at the end of the Villarreal game. He was smiling. He was happy. He went into the press conference happy, joyous. Did not even speak about the performance. Did not say we did not deserve to win this game. We were lucky. The opposition played better than us. We need to improve the way we play football. He said nothing like that. He was over the moon that we got the result. The result is everything to this manager. Performance is nothing to him because he does not coach. and he doesn't know how to coach. So he's not coaching them to put out a performance. He's coaching them, not even coaching him, he's built the team just to get results, not performances. So that's why you see him in the press conferences. It's totally contrary to Pep Guardiola and Jurgen Klopp. Totally contrary. Furthermore, you see him in the game. If Manchester United are winning 2-0, even when we're winning 1-0, even when we're not even winning, he's sitting in the stands. The only time he comes out of the stands is when we're losing. That's the only time. If we're winning 1-0, if we're winning 2-0, you'll see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer with his legs crossed in the stands making jokes. He's not on the touchline shouting at his players, pick up your performances, track your men, make runs in behind, whatever the tactics is. He's happy that we're just winning. Contrary to Jurgen Klopp and Pep Guardiola, that's continuously on the touchline, barking instructions to the players. Even when I saw Pep Guardiola last season winning 5-0 and still on the touchline barking instructions. That's because they're perfectionists. That's because they want their players to replicate what they've done in training. Manchester United are replicating what we do in training. We do nothing in training. So that's what's being replicated in the game. And so now, guys, let's go on to the team that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer put out. And this is what I tweeted. Let me show you what I tweeted as well before the game. Just when the lineup came out, this is what I tweeted. I said, I'm impressed that Ole is rotating. He clearly sees that Everton is not at their strongest and is backing his players. Would this be the ideal situation to rest players when there's an international break? That's a question that will be posed if we don't win. Now, I was impressed, as my tweet says, by rotation because we've got the squad to rotate. So we should be able to put out those players that we put out against Everton, and those players should be able to get the job done. They are more than good enough, especially a weakened Everton as it was. As I said, missing two of their main strikers, also missing Andre Gomez and apparently I think another defender whatsoever. The team that we put out should be able to get the job done. And I want to see Ole Gunnar Solskjaer rotating because Thomas Tuchel rotates, Pep Guardiola rotates. The only manager that does not rotate so much is Jurgen Klopp, and that's because he doesn't have the bench to do it. He's got no bench whatsoever. So you'll see him maybe take out a midfielder, put a midfielder, but it won't be proper rotating like Jurgen Klopp, like Pep Guardiola and Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel, 1 week you see Thiago Silva starting in defense. The next week you see Christensen. The next week you see Chalobah. The next week you see Azpilicueta there on the right on the back three. Then you go to the attack line. Romelu Lukaku's a mainstay, but next to him they always chopping and changing. 1 week you'll see Mount. The next week you'll see Ziyech. The next week you'll see Werner. The next week you'll see Havertz. It's consistently changing. He rotates his squad. The same with Pep Guardiola. Consistently rotates his squad. So I want to see. I was happy when I saw Ole Gunnar Solskjaer do that because I want to see him get the best out of even the squad players. Those squad players are good enough to get results in the Premier League. However, I did ask a question after that, and I said, would this be the ideal situation to rest players when there is an international break? And I said, if we don't win, that's a question that will be asked. That's a question that will be asked. Like Pep Guardiola said, look here, when I make decisions and if I win, I look like a genius. But if I lose, I look like the worst manager. That's just the nature of the game, guys. You have to make sure your decisions get you the victory. And I said this, although I'm all for rotation, but if you are rotating the players because you want to give them a rest, it makes no sense to do that when there's an international break. It makes sense to do that if we've got another 2 games coming up in the space of maybe 5-6 days. We've got another 2 games. It makes sense to rotate. It makes no sense when after this game players are going on an international break. Furthermore, if you're saying you're rotating Cristiano Ronaldo, why are you rotating him? Because Ronaldo does not play the same way he was playing when he was 28. 36-year-old Ronaldo plays completely different to when he was playing in his prime when he was 28. Completely different. Ronaldo right now reserves his energy, picks his runs, picks his moments of bursting into long dashing runs. He picks his moments. He does not just run all over the field and use all up his energy to pressing. They put up a stats and they show that Cristiano Ronaldo runs the least and presses the least out of all the attackers in the Premier League. And that don't faze me, guys, and I don't take anything from that. And I even replied to the tweets and I said, this makes no sense. He's 36 years old. You don't expect him to run around the pitch as a teenager's running or playing in his 20s. He's 36 years old, and the best players in the world don't run. And I guarantee you, if you put Messi's stats up, Messi runs the least out of every single player in Europe. Messi literally walks on the field. walks. Watch PSG games. Messi walks on the field. Cristiano Ronaldo will at least jog a bit. Messi walks on the field until he gets the ball at his feet. So these are the great players. They reserve their energy for the defining moments. The defining moments for them is to put the ball in the back of the net. So if you're telling me Cristiano Ronaldo, you watching his game time, you managing his game time, I don't agree with that. I absolutely don't agree with that, because Ronaldo, he picks his moments, he reserves his energy, and he's fitter than most players in Europe. And this is what Oli had to say about his squad rotation. He said you have to manage the players' workload, and the decision was, for me, the correct one today. As I said, guys, you can't talk about managing Cristiano Ronaldo's workload when he chooses himself in the game how to manage his workload. In the game, he chooses himself how to manage his workload. As I said, that stat came out. He runs the least out of all the attackers in the Premier League, clearly telling you he's choosing his moments when he wants to release his energy and release all, his efforts. He's choosing his moments. He's choosing his workload. So furthermore, you have an international break. You cannot talk about workload when there's an international break. You can't talk about that. And then he says that the decision was, for me, the correct one today. I highly doubt it. When you drop points, the decision is not right. Let's just face it there. When you drop points, the decision is not right. You saw the way Cristiano Ronaldo left the pitch, shaking his head, angry, first one to leave the pitch, did not clap the fans, nothing. That's because the decision wasn't right. Ronaldo was supposed to start. Oli, if he wanted to play Cavani, because Cavani works hard even in training and he deserves a start, 100% agree. Cavani is a super player, world-class striker still. You can play both of them together. Why can't Oli change his formation? Why can't Oli go into a game with a different plan? Why is it all the time 4-2-3-1, two holding midfielders? You can play Edison Cavani and Cristiano Ronaldo up front, Bruno Fernandes behind him, and you play a midfield three. So you play 4-3-1-2. The midfield three is Paul Pogba and obviously Scott McTominay and Fred. He loves those guys. You can literally do that. You can do that, and you can play with wing backs and tell your obviously full backs, but you tell them to, when we're in possession, they can play as wing backs. You can do that. But he doesn't have the tactical nous to make those decisions, guys. And I also want to speak about the midfield, because that, for me, a lot of people want to hear about the midfield. A lot of people right now are getting on that bandwagon of the midfield, Scott McTominay and Fred. And the stats will show you, as Oli spoke about last week, the stats will show you that we win more games with those two than what we lose. 100%. But those guys don't help us when we have the ball. When we are playing lesser teams, they should not be playing. I fully understand you playing them when we're versing Liverpool, when we're versing Manchester City, and maybe even when we're versing Chelsea. When we're versing teams that are going to have more of the ball, and that's going to require us to shuffle around the park side to side, back and forth, I understand playing Scott McTominay and Fred. I don't understand playing Scott McTominay and Fred when we are going to have all the possession as we had with Everton. We had something like 70-something possession. I don't understand that, because they're not good. They're not good on the ball at all. So when we have possession, what are they doing? You never ever see Scott McTominay on the field. The only time you see Scott McTominay on the field is when we don't have the ball and he's running around kicking people. The minute the ball is at a Manchester United player's foot, you will never see Scott McTominay, because he's not a footballer, period. And I said this a long time ago. I said Scott McTominay should have never even graduated from the academy. Or if you wanted to graduate him, you should have sent him out on loan and sold him. He's not good enough for Man United. He is not good enough to be playing in Premier League games week in, week out. He should not be playing. So the fact that, guys, we're still playing with two holding midfielders, and it's this manager's third season, and this is what some of the people, the people that were backing this manager, the pundits, and some of the fans as well that were in love with this manager, they were all saying in his first and second year, they were saying, oh, the reason why Oli plays two holding midfielders. No, let me go back further. They were saying the reason why we're dropping points against these lesser teams, the reason why we can't break down a low block, is because Oli's playing with two holding midfielders. The reason he's playing with two holding midfielders is because he can't trust his back line. He doesn't trust his centre backs. Let Ole Gunnar Solskjaer get another centre back next to Harry Maguire, and he will dismantle the two holding midfielders, and he will play with one holding midfielder, because he played for Manchester United. He's a Manchester United guy. He wants to attack. This is all the things they were saying, all the nice things they were saying at that time. Go and look back at my videos. I was always saying Only playing with two holding midfielders got nothing to do with the personnel, got nothing to do with the defense. It's got everything to do with him. He's a negative manager. He doesn't take no risks at all. Fast forward, we're now in his third year. He plays with... He bought Rafael Varane, one of the best centre-backs in the world, partnering the most expensive centre-back in the world, and he still continues to play with two holding midfielders. Why? Because he's a negative manager. It got nothing to do with the personnel. He's got one of the best centre-backs in the world. He partnered him with the most expensive centre-back in the world. He's got his right back that he bought for 50 million. But we're still playing with two holding midfielders because he's a negative manager. He'll never dismantle that. Never, ever. Never. So that's also one of the reasons, guys, that we are so backward. One of the reasons why we also can't break down a low block. I agree. First and foremost, to break down a low block, you need a system. It's not no use you just flinging bodies forward, because when you fling bodies forward, you are susceptible to counterattacks, as we are, as Ole Gunnar Solskjaer mentioned in his press conferences as well. I'll read you the quote. He said that we have to watch now on conceding counterattacks. So that's what happens when you're just throwing bodies forward with no plan. To break down a low block, you need a system. You have to have a system. You have to have a plan. How are we going to break down this low block? There's never been that plan up till today. In Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's first year, we couldn't break down a low block. All the people were saying he doesn't have the players. No. All the people are saying he doesn't have the players, he doesn't have the time. Give him time to work on it in the training and give him his players. Come the second year, they say, no, they're not mentioning time anymore. They say, no, he doesn't have the players. Let him get the players. He wanted a right winger. He wanted Jadon Sancho. Let him get Jadon Sancho. We give him Jadon Sancho. Now his third year, there's no more excuses. Everybody can see there's no excuses. He's got Jadon Sancho. He's benching Jadon Sancho. So that's what I'm saying. There's no excuses now why we can't break down a low block. We had the same problem in year 1, year 2. It's now the third year. We still have the same problem. We can't break down a low block because you need a system. You need a system to break down a low block. So I also want to put out, guys, what Rio Ferdinand just said. I read it now recently. He says, one thing I would say, it's not the time to panic. This isn't a time to start calling for Ollie's head, etc. Because they are still within touching distance at the top. They've still got an opportunity to mount a threat and contend for the league. That's what Rio Ferdinand says, guys. And I fully disagree with it. I fully disagree with it because there's no facts. There's no evidence that he can show another club that's implementing the strategy, the long suffering that Man United are enduring, and that went on to success. Modern day club. Don't tell me what happened with Sir Alex Ferguson 20 years ago. Tell me what's happening now. The world we live in today is a different world we lived in 20 years ago. Tell me now, show me now a club that's adopting the same strategy of waiting, of long suffering with Manchester United and are achieving success. They're not. Furthermore, I don't blame Rio for saying this because he's never really been in a decision-making environment. He's been playing on the field, and yes, he's got his own things going on, but at a real top decision-making environment where if you don't make a decision, that organization, huge department you work in will stop. He's never been in that environment. So it's easy to say that, but we have been in those environments, guys, in the working world, in the corporate world, where if you don't make a decision at the root stage, you will encounter a bottleneck going forward. And you cannot identify the problem when it becomes a problem. You need to identify the problem before it becomes a problem. In its root stage, you need to see this will become a problem. If we don't deal with it now, we are going to encounter a bottleneck. They call it a bottleneck because you can't move forward once the problem arises. You need to deal with it in its root stage. And that's what clubs like Bayern Munich do, clubs like Real Madrid do, clubs like Chelsea do. That's why they win titles. Manchester United, they haven't won a Premier League for 9 years because we wait until it's mathematically impossible for us to win the league, mathematically impossible for us to finish top 4, then we sack a manager. I don't know how they run this club, but it's a shambles. And you can even read what Rio's saying. He himself got that same way of thinking. It's a warped way of thinking. Bayern Munich, Niko Kovac was coaching Bayern Munich a couple of years ago. He won the league the previous season. He went into the new season. They were sitting around about third, fourth place, fifth place, around there. They were a couple points off top. I think they were about 5-6 points off top. Bayern Munich sacked him. They never say, you know what, this is the guy that won us the league last year. Let's see how this season goes. And once it's mathematically impossible for us to win the league, then we'll sack him. They said no. We expect the league every single year. We have to make a decision now before it becomes a problem for us in the future. We need to make a decision now. They made a decision early, half the season. They sacked him. They brought in Hansi Flick. Hansi Flick won them the Sextuple. Sextuple is 6 trophies in 1 year. Every single competition Hansi Flick competed in, he won them. Why? Bayern Munich made a decision early. Chelsea as well, with Frank Lampard. Super legend, probably Chelsea's greatest ever player. Chelsea were off top for about 5-6 points. Their performances weren't good. Chelsea sacked him. They never say, let's wait to see until Frank Lampard's mathematically impossible for him to finish top 4, then we'll sack him. No, they said the squad is good enough to finish top 4. We expect them to finish top 4. But the way it looks right now, we're not going to do that. Let's sack Frank Lampard. Sack Frank Lampard, got Thomas Tuchel in January time. They won the Champions League. And now they're the favourites for the Premier League. That's what happens when you make early decisions. Manchester United need to make a decision. We should have made a decision last season when the manager got knocked out of the Champions League. We should have sacked him then. We should have sacked him at the end of last season when he lost against Villarreal in the Europa League final. Embarrassments, we should have sacked him. We've gone into this new season with the manager, same problems. Now all of a sudden our ex-players, our ex-legends, our ex-players, the pundits are now saying give the man till the end of the season. They're saying it's not the time to panic. These guys want to make decisions when it's panic time. Nonetheless, guys, that's my match review of the game. I told you that Manchester United had no game plan. We drew the game. We lost points. Chelsea won. And it's just going to get worse because the run of fixtures we have in October is worse. Guys, if you're watching this channel and you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button. I'm out. Peace.